We are live 364 days a year.
What are we doing here?
If Dom turns at SummerSlam, I'm shaving my moustache off. I've told you, if that happens, it's going. My lip is cold because of a stupid bet that I made the YouTube.
Oh, good.
Wrestle's better than Daniel Bryan Daniels, better than Okada.
How do you not get sushi after Monday Night Raw?
Welcome to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, a show where a rotating cast of wrestling fans from around the world come and share and debate their opinions, with live comments from all of you shown throughout, as after all, fans are what makes wrestling so special. So sit back, grab a beverage, and enjoy the show.
What's going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Saturday, January 10th. I'm Clark. I'll be hosting today. We're going to break down all of last night's Friday Night SmackDown. No doubt about it. First and foremost, though, I do want to give a shout out to my good buddy Blake. Happy birthday. It's a little bit belated, but neither here nor there. I will see you shortly for that party. I've got a sweet cast hanging out with me today on the daily broadcast. First and foremost, let me send this one to one of my usual co-hosts out in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, that is, for you geography fans. He's our head of opinions. He's Anthony Ricciardi. How are you, my friend? Did you enjoy SmackDown last night?
I did. I enjoyed it, especially when I watched it earlier. Then it aired in the States. Thanks, Kobe. No, it was an enjoyable show. I'm looking forward to getting into it. And as always, let's cause some chaos, Clark.
I'm totally with you. Absolutely also thoroughly enjoyed Midday SmackDown yesterday. It was a great way to spend a Friday afternoon. That was awesome. That was a nice byproduct of the show being in Germany. It's tougher to watch in the US than you think, but as Anthony mentioned, shout out Kobe Galanzowski for that one. Now let me send this one to my hometown of Chicago, to a good friend of mine really quick, and introduce him to you as well. We've got Davis in the building, man. Happy Saturday. Happy New Year. How are you?
I'm good. I loved yesterday's SmackDown. I loved everything about a 3-hour SmackDown, especially the last 2 weeks. Something I had high hopes for. I'm glad it's paying dividends right now. And we got a lot to get into. We got some, from the topics at hand, we got some youngsters vying for top spots, and we have a new champion on our hands.
No doubt about it, man. I'm fired up to get into it. And I mean, it's awesome. This has been kind of a fun start to 2026. It does feel like a fresh year. Actually, I feel like for SmackDown, even last night, to your point, generally speaking, compared to some of by the end of last year, some of the discussions, I don't know if it was just the New Year holiday or if there is a definitive change, but it does feel like we're starting to get the train back on the tracks, for lack of a better way to put that one. We got a bunch of comments here I want to run through really quick. We got Fernando Zayas, friend of the show, in the building with good afternoon, WR crew. Good afternoon, Fernando. How are you, my friend? National Bittersweet Chocolate Day, WR crew. I don't know the difference between that and regular chocolate, but whatever. It's a great afternoon. Ha ha ha. I am here for this. Yes, you are. Congratulations to Drew for beating that fraud Cody Rhodes. Fernando, yes. Congratulations. We loved it. It was the best day of my life. But as the comments know, until Oregon took the field for the game at night. Either way, numero one Superfly with 3 stages of hell was considered, in my opinion, match of the year contender, especially a match I begged for 3 years. Numero one, I think they booked this for you. I've got to take just a second to honor this. We've been doing this program for basically 3+ years now. It's been running for a long time, every single day except Christmas, as you know. One of the only shows in the world that does that. Fernando has commented asking for 3 stages of hell matches since we started this show. And I'm not Fernando, I'm sorry. Numero one Superfly has commented asking for 3 stages of hell matches since the beginning of this whole show. And I absolutely loved that we finally got it and it was good. Shad adding finished numero one story, no doubt about it. And then DCX Warlord, may I just say, all caps, that the narcissist nightmare's reign of terror is finally over. Let's go. Yes, no doubt about it, DC. I feel the same. But before we get to that topic, we actually have to, out of the gates, discuss Randy Orton, an absolute legend, a legend killer in past lives. Maybe he still is one. I don't know. Trick Williams covered in maybe the most oil I've ever seen anybody covered in. enters during Randy Orton's promo. And I enjoyed this back and forth. I think Trick is excellent on the mic. Obviously, Randy Orton is one of the greatest of all time. There's no debate about that. I like the idea of these two sort of, rubbing shoulders out of the gates to introduce Trick Williams to the SmackDown audience, although it is intimidating. And one thing I found very interesting in that stare down last night when they first got in each other's faces is I didn't anticipate that Trick Williams would actually be smaller than Randy Orton. And I don't know if the visual of Trick Williams not being as big as Randy Orton was as helpful for him as his mic work was last night. And I want you to break down the whole promo for me and your thoughts on Trick, because this is it could be a bite off more than you can chew type situation when you're rubbing shoulders with Randy Orton this early in your main roster run.
When you put a young talent in the ring with somebody the caliber of Randy Orton, that's throwing you in the deep end and hoping you can swim. Trick is one of those talents that, I gotta be honest, I think he's good on the mic. He does have the audience with the chant, which really doesn't make any sense because essentially it's essentially beating up Trick if you technically read it out. I think Trick in the ring is only as good as who he's up against in his track record. I have not exactly been blown away with him in the ring. I think Montez Ford is better than he is as far as like young talents. But I think Orton is a smart choice. It's a full circle moment for Randy. He was in the position as the young rookie going against people like Bob Holly and the like to try to gain recognition. Obviously, he found the Legend Killer character, Evolution, and all that other stuff kind of helped elevate him to that point that he is in now after all these years. But Trick and Orton, I think, could be a really good feud because Trick's played the heel role, but Randy will always be the Viper. At the end of the day, whether he's getting cheered or he's the Viper, at the end of the day, he could punk kick anybody. And that's who Randy is. So Trick may think that he's the man. Randy has a punt for him at some point, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. And here's the thing for me. Obafemi and Trick Williams was actually a better match than I anticipated. You mentioned Trick's in-ring ability and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I think he's come a long way in NXT, right? Covering it on Tuesday nights, I think there's no debate that he's come a long way. Wrestling as the smaller but faster, more athletic, arguably, guy, he did have success against Obafemi. He's kind of going to have to do that against Orton. And I actually just find that really, really, really interesting. We've got a few comments here that I want to throw in because Shad added, Randy is massive. Yes, especially now, man. The guy got in the best shape of his career, arguably, right? He was sinewy as the Viper, right? And like long and lanky. The guy bulked up in a way now that we have almost never seen Randy Orton look like this. And then Randy Orton is sneaky big. Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting to the point now where he's just big. And then they believe in Trick. He'll pass the flying colors. Trick is the next big star they brought up next to Oba. And that's kind of what I wanted to go back to is I do hope that Trick and Oba aren't directly compared to each other all the time. I don't think it benefits either one because of how different they are, but I do hear where Shad's coming from as the of the two recent call-ups on the men's side. No doubt those are the ones that I would, strap the rocket to.
My money would be on push. Oba. Of the two, Oba I see more in. To be perfectly honest.
Thing I will say about Trick is Trick's got a really, really unique charisma, but the other thing is people forget Trick is a legit pro athlete, like a legitimate, disciplined professional athlete. And people that develop a work ethic like that in sports like professional football continue to improve over time because of the level of discipline. So I give Trick more room to improve. I almost think Oba can improve in the sense of eyeballs, if that makes sense. but I think Oba is nearly a finished product as a professional wrestler. He's as good as he's going to get on the mic, and he's as good as he's going to get in the ring practically. Of course, he'll get like a little better. I think Trick has a leap he can make that I don't necessarily see that Oba has, and I think they can be on the same plane. Davis, this is what I kind of wanted to ask you about, not necessarily to compare it back to Oba, but how do you see a feud between Randy Orton and Trick going, and what does it do for Trick's initial run on the main roster?
Listen, when I saw Trick confront Sami Zayn, there was a flashback that happened in 2002 that catapulted a young star named John Cena when he confronted a Kurt Angle. And that reminded me so much of this segment. For him to confront Randy Orton out the gate, I think we do have a Saturday Night Main Event feud, maybe a Royal Rumble feud or an Elimination Chamber if they extend it that long. But I see Trick Williams. I don't see Trick Williams and Obafemi being side by side and just being compared one to the other. I think we have a new pillar in the WWE in Dominic Mysterio, Braun Breaker, Trick Williams, and Obafemi, as we had in 2002 to 2003 with Brock, Batista, Randy, and John Cena. And this is what I love about how they're treating all of these stars. They're all different in their own ways, and they're all going to add to this company in specific ways. With Trick Williams, I do think he's more of the bigger upside when it comes to just overall package. But I think they all just bring a different dynamic. With Trick, you have a stellar promo ability. We've already seen the underdog of Trick Williams at NXT. If you have not seen that, please go back and watch it from last year. You have a very good heel version of Trick Williams. He's so interchangeable in so many roles that us who watch NXT on a regular basis, we know and love. And I'm so blessed that the main roster fans who do not watch NXT can now see this version of Trick. I'd see very, very similarities in Cena and Trick Williams. Obviously, we got to revisit this in 20 years. But as far as the trajectory, Trick Williams is the next big star in this company. To me, it's a no-brainer. Trick Williams should be WWE champion within the next 2 years.
I hear you too. 2 years seems quick, but I will say this in a weird way. Covering the two on NXT, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. While on NXT at first, I always thought Melo was the star. At this stage, I actually believe Trick Williams' ceiling is higher. There's just he's not there yet, but he's one of those guys that I think can really make a leap. A lot like a Damian Priest, if that makes sense. The way Damian Priest inserted himself into the world title picture on the main roster, but didn't necessarily reach those exact heights the way he was booked in NXT. I think that Trick Williams can achieve something like that and catch lightning in a bottle a little bit. The other one that I would add is Whoop That Trick isn't Yeet yet, but charisma wise, there is a similarity between the two, him and Jey Uso, and it may not be Whoop That Trick. But if he catches something like that, Trick Williams' stratosphere, because the look, the athleticism, and the work rate are all there, and so's the charisma. So he's one catchphrase away from lightning in a bottle, I feel like. That's just always been my gut feeling with Trick Williams. He's got an it factor that you don't really see often. And it's sort of undercover, almost, and this is kind of a crazy comparison, but like how you always kind of thought Tony Storm could be better. It may even be a change in exactly the character that Trick Williams is. But I could see even something like that, hypothetically speaking, where Trick Williams really catches lightning in the bottle, because he has no problem on the microphone, and he's absolutely awesome when it comes to both mic work and just being a pure athlete, and the look you can't make up. I appreciate this one. Good comparison, said Shad. Agreed, Davis from Shad as well. How is Javon Evans left out as a pillar? Yeah, no, I wasn't even trying to go full pillars. I would throw Javon in there as well, 100%. Doctor of Thugonomics charisma, I like that from Shad. That is a good point. And then the lemon pepper stepper, that, I mean, The lemon pepper stepper was pretty darn funny. I can't lie. Lemon pepper my wings. I thought Rick Ross as soon as I heard it. But at the same time, let's talk about big tag match with a lot of people. I think MFTs might stand for maybe forget them, but they do pick up the victory over the Wyatt Six. Anthony, what are we doing with both of these groups? And why do the Wyatts keep being booked so weak and losing? Doesn't make sense if they're going to be monsters. Monsters don't usually lose. I've seen Monsters Inc. It's not till the end that the monsters don't win. I don't get it.
I don't either. I legit don't care about either team. And that's not what you want from the audience. The MFTs, they're kind of just floating there. I am not completely sold on Solo as other people are. I think he's an interesting character in the ring, nothing special, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I know people are going to get mad, but oh well. The Wyatts, that's been a problem since day one. And I said to you, Clark, this was off air, I believe. I had said to you, I went, this is a mistake. I know what they're trying to do, but there's going to be a portion of the audience that goes, this isn't what Bray wanted. They're not doing it right, even though nobody knows exactly what Bray wanted for this. And then there's going to be a portion that goes, they're just trying to make money off nostalgia off somebody that passed away. And I just didn't think that this gimmick was really going to work. I actually think the best place it works, in all seriousness, is AAA, because that's the land of like over the top characters where you can kind of do that in the mystical realm type stuff. You know, Undertaker and Kane went on for so many years, but that's because it was kind of built in. Taker kind of already had that built in from the era of kayfabe, where it was just kind of accepted he was the legend. They let it go. And Kane kind of because he was connected to Taker. But I don't think it necessarily works today in a realm where you're trying to be focused on realism. Like it worked for Lucha Underground because that was over the top, because it was soap opera-y and sci-fi-ish. That's kind of what you can kind of do with AAA, because AAA, I think, has the best place to do it. TNA is another place to do it. In modern day WWE, I don't think it works, to be honest.
I hear exactly where you're coming from, and AAA makes a ton of sense, Ant. It really does. I'm almost wondering, though, if NXT isn't the play.
In the old days, yeah, but I mean, you see with Dark State, it's not like that's not entertaining either.
So. But I'm also like from a production standpoint, because TNA was a good shout, but the Wyatt Six need that full production. I think the WWE can still do that with NXT, and maybe you utilize them, and it also puts up and coming talent in a position working against something you may only see on the main roster because it's more mythical. You're going to have to like learn new stuff. I almost think for that reason, and it doesn't benefit the Wyatt Six. I'm not saying it benefits the Wyatt Six. I actually think it would benefit other talent having to work with sort of that style. You also look at half that roster had mountains of success on NXT.
My concern,
or not roster, but half that faction.
My concern is of the talents in the Wyatts. I think the best one is Joe Gacy, has the best
by far
potential. And my concern with the longer this Wyatt thing goes, which is kind of like beating a dead horse, nobody's really that interested in this other than the entrance. Yeah. Is that the longer it goes, it may hurt Joe Gacy's stock long term, because when they decide to cut ties of this thing, everyone might get cut loose and nobody gets saved. Where I think Gacy has a chance. I think Bo, in theory, has a chance, but the Uncle Howdy thing's got to go. Like, he's got to be his own thing.
I almost think if you were ever going to do a split personality storyline, you can only bring out Uncle Howdy for special times. That's the only time it works. I think because also the look last night was electric, and he looked great in the ring. That's one thing that you can't take away. He looked like he was on his game for sure. Don't you think, Davis?
I think that just hurts him overall because I think the gimmick is just so bad. Like him on his own, I think could do well.
Yeah.
I agree with Ant on this. This gimmick does not work for WWE right now. This with the style of how what WWE is presented right now, it does. TNA or AAA, excuse me, can benefit from it the most. And this was my biggest fear when they came back because it was almost like we got that massive, like, oh my gosh, like they, Chad Gable, and we had that whole thing. And I'm like, okay, what's next?
The return was so cool and it never got followed up.
It's Bo Dallas going to be WWE champion? Like, I think we need to ask, like, does he ever have to be?
Probably
I don't
not.
think so. Even before this, I didn't think he was ever going to be.
Honest, probably not. All right, let's keep it rolling on today's show, though, because this one's interesting, and I am excited to talk about it because, man, did I love this. Jade Cargill, Jordynne Grace picks up a victory. She's on SmackDown. We all know Jordynne Grace is pretty darn yoked, right? We all have eyes. She's yoked. Well, Jade Cargill is basically chiseled of stone. She makes her entrance as Jordynne Grace is walking back up the ramp and then looks her up and down, walks a circle around her, and then stands over her with the title belt. It was one of the most intimidating segments I've ever seen. And then she hit my favorite line in all of wrestling. She let Jordynne Grace know that she is that B word. And I loved it. Everything about it. Davis, were you as excited about this as me? Because guess what? That B word is back.
With Jade Cargill, and we've discussed this several times on the pod, especially between me and you, Clark, to where we think Jade Cargill's one road to WrestleMania is Bianca Belair. And I remember a couple comments stating that Bianca may not come back in time. This is now the plan B. And I love the plan B more than I love the plan A because it is a clash of the Titans. It gives Jordynne Grace that massive rub on the main roster. I hope they keep them far apart for the next few months. So if there is a WrestleMania clash, this is what we get. But I love everything about this. I love how they presented Jordynne Grace. The match I didn't love so much, but I think it was more to showcase Jordynne Grace than anything. But yeah, give me Jordan, give me Jade, give me WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas. I want this match booked as soon as it can be.
Same. I'm so with you, dude. Like, it's a clash of titans. I mean, Shad said it great here, too. Jade versus Jordan. Sign me up. Two Greek goddess statues feuding. I love that. And then I'm Too Short's favorite word. That's my favorite word. No doubt about it. Shout out the Bay Area. Speaking of, we'll get to Jacob Fatu later. Cheap D's. But and I want to get your thoughts also on Jade and Jordan because I mean, dude, you've covered Jordan's rise from TNA through NXT, all of that. I do want to get your thoughts. Jordan standing up to Jade, I loved the way that she sort of no-sold.
Yes.
But then the Jade looking her up and down and walking around in the circle and she's standing her ground. I thought it really did send a message. You sort of have the unstoppable force, immovable object.
Yes.
I loved sort of the way that they played upon that. I just want your thoughts as well.
When you look at Jade, she was easily one of the most dominant women in AEW history with the TBS title. And she has been presented in such a way in WWE as that character as well. And now she has the WWE Women's Championship. Jordynne Grace, this is somebody that when she was in TNA, she completely transformed her body and she became the juggernaut. She became the face of TNA's knockout division, easily the most dominant champion since Awesome Kong in that company. Obviously, she was a pivotal piece in forming the TNA WWE partnership as she was the template to kind of start it, other than the one-off Mickie James one in the Rumble. But, you know, after she went to NXT, she kind of floated there. And I loved last night because it presented her in the way that she should be presented as the juggernaut. Like, this is a matchup that you want to see. Anybody that knows the history of either one of these people, and especially if you know both, you know this is a must-see match. Jordan has tons of years of experience. And, Jade has succeeded leaps and bounds from where she was when she came in, because she didn't have that much ring experience. But being in the ring with Jordan can help her look really, really good. I would love to see Jordan eventually get a women's championship. I don't necessarily think she's going to get off of Jade on the first go, but I want to see that match. I don't know if they're going to hold it off for Mania, or their first go at it is it the Rumble and then there's a follow-up at Mania. I'm not sure which, because it is kind of early to tease that, because we have several months in between now and Mania, but that's a money match. Wherever it takes place, it's going to be a money match.
No doubt about it. I'm with you on that. And I also love what you said about Jordan helping Jade along a little bit. I think Jade's getting closer and closer to like not necessarily needing that much help, but just to keep things sort of copacetic, for lack of a better way to put it. I agree. I think you're right, where Jordan is a logical, experienced opponent, but it also doesn't feel like she can possibly fully outstar power Jade.
Yeah,
in a weird way.
Jordan,
and that's no knock on Jordan Grace.
Jordan in a lot of ways is like Natalya, in that she's very underrated and she can make anyone look good, even in defeat, or if she wins, it doesn't matter. They always look better from being in the ring with her before they did.
And I also think logically a Jordan Jade matchup doesn't equal a squash.
No,
which a lot of Jade rivalries you would have now, it's not going to be a squash. Davis, do you have an early prediction? You think Jade retains?
I do, and it's not because of the reason stated. It's more because we have to look back at our NXT story, how it ended. Yeah. Jordan can't win a title, and I do think that does continue onto the main roster. Maybe at a SummerSlam, I can see Jordan taking the title, or next year's WrestleMania. But I think there's so much and I was, as Anthony was talking, I was like, there's a story untold in Jordan, because there's no more Jordan in NXT. So now you have to finish that story that she planted onto the main roster. Does that happen with the mid-card title first? It might. But I think the way the CG planted last night, I don't think we go to the mid-card. I think we go straight to Jade. Maybe you win it along the way.
That's really a brilliant point. I hadn't thought of that.
Honestly, when they're ready to pull the trigger on Jade, what I would like to see happen, I love her to go the distance in the Rumble, because she is the type of wrestler that she could run the gauntlet from 1 through 30. She could do it. Believably.
Oh, yeah. Yep. All right. Let's move on to our main event of the afternoon, evening, morning. Depends on where you are geographically. But last night's main event of the afternoon, evening, morning depends on where you were geographically. Either way, Drew McIntyre defeats our American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, and ding dong, the witch is dead. We did it, guys. We're so back. We're so back. First fall, singles match. Gotta give Cody credit. He did like a full flip on the Claymore. That was one of the best Claymore sells I've ever seen in my life. That was insane. I didn't know he had that in the bag. I was like, that looked like U.S. gymnastics, not Friday Night SmackDown. And then they head over to Falls Count Anywhere. Of course, Cody wins that one, where you think he might be the underdog, and then they drop the steel cage. And it looks like either one can win this one. Cody, Drew, back and forth. Pretty solid in the steel cage. And then, yay area, yada da mean. Jacob Fatu shows up and ruins everybody's party except Drew McIntyre, who slips out the door of the cage to defeat Cody Rhodes in 3 stages of hell and become the new WWE champion. I loved every second of this. Jacob Fatu hitting both tickled me. Jacob Fatu, to me, we talk about all these young stars. He's been gone. We haven't been talking about him enough. He's the guy. He's got the most it of anybody. He's the guy. Jacob Fatu is the dude. If anyone was going to interfere in this match, it had to be Fatu, because if it was anyone else, I would not be this stoked today. Trust me. Even if you think the Cody thing, whatever. I would not be this fired up if it wasn't for the Jacob Fatu interference. That was the best thing. It was the right choice, too. It made the most sense. I love everything about it. This also, though, deeply affects the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania season, Elimination Chamber, and everything else that's coming up. But, you know what I mean? Fatu's back. I'm fired up about it. Davis, let me get your thoughts first. Let me get your thoughts, Anthony, and then we'll all break it down.
First and foremost, I love to give flowers before anything else. Praise to Cody Rhodes, as when he did finish the story, it was a good story for that time being. I've been severely against this run. I hope he can rebuild whatever this run was and then just repackage. Not maybe repackage, but just capture that lightning in a bottle again. Now on to Drew McIntyre. I cannot be happier for just a star. As much as this is a show, we witnessed a man lose his job, rebuild, get his opportunity with the unfortunate things, obviously, that happened in the world. He won his title in front of nobody, a production team. And then he had to fight, claw, and he got his moment. He got his moment back. He's in his home country today performing with the WWE Championship. And I am so happy that this all took place. And it's given something I talked about just internally, just with my friend, y'all, my girlfriend. And as y'all know, I go to a lot of big wrestling events, here and just across the world. And obviously we talk about TKO prices, and something I noticed, the TKO prices are going down, and I'm like, okay, TKO is getting out of their way. And this is them TKO getting out of their way, because you're not clinging to the big name stars anymore. You're clinging to stories and telling them, not just a moment, because now this creates a massive talking point. And as you saw, we all three were talking this morning. What's next? What's next? What's next? We have not had that discussion the last couple of years because options have been limited. Is Cody facing The Rock or Cena? Is Roman going to face The Rock or Cody? We have been very limited, and now we don't know what direction. And as a wrestling fan, I love not having a direction sometimes. Going into the biggest WrestleMania, going into a redo of last year's WrestleMania, because what was that, Travis Scott? Don't up here. Like, we need a redo.
You're so I think you said something very beautiful there that we can all agree upon. Sometimes it's nice not to know what's going to happen next. And it feels as wide open as it's felt in a Mania season in recent memory. I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head with that. I'm with you there. And I think last night's match, even the Breaker Punk match, contributed to that when it comes to this week.
Yeah,
I would go as far as saying I think both were positives. Let me read through a couple quick comments, though. I love this one. We used to pray for times like this, Clark. Yes, we did. DCX Warlord. We did it. We did it. And then we've also got numero one Superfly, Mr. 3 Stages of Hell, with a fantastic 3 Stages of Hell match. I was massively surprised by WWE pulling the trigger. I want to see Drew versus Dragunov at the Rumble. That match would be a 7-star classic in the Tokyo Dome. Could be 70 stars. Numero one, I'm with you. At least if it was in the Tokyo Dome. But then we've also got from DCX, this made me laugh. Cody should answer the US Open Challenge. Make it the new TBS title. I hear you. Either way. Let's get back to the topic at hand, though, really quickly, Anthony, because I need your thoughts on it as well. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about last night's 3 Stages match, because truthfully, between the way that they handled it with commercial breaks for it being on a show, which I think was a fear for all of us, it worked out great.
Yeah,
I commercial free. Believe it worked out great because they did the right thing, right?
Yes.
That's sort of where I was going with that. Yeah, you know what I mean? And on top of that, the impact of the Fatu return, I think, was worthy, because we've been begging for a lot of returns from injury over the last few years. Some that have happened, some that have yet to happen. There are many big names on the shelf currently. There have been big names on the shelf over the last, 3 years since we've done the daily, basically. Fatu, I feel like as far as speculation about when and why on his return, may have had the least amount of talk about him while he was absent. And in a weird way, roundabout, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Ant, I actually think it made the return more impactful.
Because people
In
forgot
a weird
about him.
way, it's almost like felt like we forgot. Did you feel the same or no?
Yeah. This is one of those situations where Cody and in AEW Hangman Page, it's almost identical. These are two guys that won world titles as baby faces. Everyone was invested in the chase. Then once the reign happened, it went, yeah, this isn't as good. And I think that's what happened with both guys. The Cody one is interesting because, number one, yes, it was 100% the right move. And I've said this every time I'm on here. Clark can confirm this. There have been moments where they're planting the seed for Homelander. And I think this is another element to that we saw in the match. Obviously, after him attacking Jacob after it. And I had said to you, Clark, privately, when they were like, oh, who attacked Jacob Fatu backstage? I don't know if they're going to continue that story, but I said, it would not shock me if it ends up being Cody as the guy. Because I ultimately think that's where it's going. I think ultimately we're getting Homelander. What I do think Drew's the smart choice, but I had previously said, I'm like, okay, Saudi is the place of the Rumble. They're going to have Sammy win the Rumble. I am now thinking that they are going to have Roman win the Rumble. Roman's going to go against Punk, probably. Maybe Seth. Maybe they'll run it back. Maybe they'll run it back with the title on the line, or make it a 4-way with Breaker. I don't know. But I'm thinking now Sammy's going to beat Drew at the Rumble for the title in Saudi, because that's where the money's at. And then Cody wins the Chamber, and you get the build up to it's going to be all rah, that the better man win. And then probably at Mania, maybe you see the turn, whether you bring in Ricky Saints and Ethan Page, people that are Cody's guys, and all the complaints about people online going, oh, it's all Cody's guys. They build it up to that. Cody, low blows Sammy, you get him, have a heel run as Homelander, and then WrestleMania the year after, also in Saudi. Magically, Sammy wins the Rumble and wins it at Mania, because that's where the money's at. That's who's paying for the show, and they're going to want that. And that's where I think it's going to go.
I think one of the most brilliant things you just mentioned when it came to the Homelander thing, we can tie back, though, to this storyline about who attacked Jacob Fatu, because we just don't know who it was.
Here's the thing. We've also seen the little seeds with like him and all this. I run the place. They've done these little seeds. So when the turn happens, if you look at the crumbs, it all makes sense.
I think where the brilliance lies, though, is have Jacob Fatu hit McIntyre first. And all of us in our brain went,
oh, that'd be Drew.
Well, it had to be Drew. Well, wait, then he also hit Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Hold up. And Fatu, character-wise, can play that. I don't care who it was. Now everybody's in trouble and still be a babyface. He's one of the few that can pull that off.
The interesting part with Drew is this, and I've said this from day one. He is the most interesting heel character because his heel turn was relatable. Which is not common.
For sure.
He turned heel because he kept getting screwed by the bloodline.
Reasons made sense. It was, by the way, it was the same when Sammy did Conspiracy Against Me, and then and all of that. Like, everything he said was logical, even despite him being a heel.
Yes,
everything he said made sense. Becky is doing it the right way, where it's like she's saying nonsensical things.
Well, yes, it's
right.
She's doing.
I don't want to say the right way, but she's doing it the opposite way.
She believes her own delusions. That's the difference.
I love that. Okay, Davis, I do want to ask you one more time, though. Like, when it comes to this, do you see a Fatu rivalry with either of the two out of the gates? Is Fatu the next challenger actually for the title? Maybe
we can probably pitch a triple threat between the two. But as far as Anthony's idea, I think as far as Homelander Cody and a big WrestleMania heel turn the right way. Cena, Travis, Rock. I think this what pays. I got a bone to pick with Travis. I walked out of there pretty salty, but with I think that's the right way to do it, because there's you actually have a payoff to it with Ethan, and you have a payoff with Ricky Saints. Ricky Saints is already healed. The first domino has already fallen. So is Ricky Saints really going to be the new NXT champion? Maybe. But is it a long-term thing? I think a long-term thing is on the main roster with Cody and being buddies with him. But with Fatu, triple threat. It obviously can't happen at the Rumble, but maybe at Saturday night's main event. Maybe we do it there.
Yeah.
They want to sell tickets. Ticket sales aren't going the hottest for that, but maybe that does put people in seats right there.
That is a heck of a call, by the way. I like the idea of a triple threat there. And the other thing is, I would actually like the idea of Fatu not being involved in the finish. He doesn't need to be the one to get pinned in that triple threat. Drew or Cody can pin the other.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, there's a number of things you could do with this. I think ultimately, if you're doing Cody with a heel stable, you do like a Kingdom type group where it's, you bring in Brandy. You got to do the full court, like him having a group and kind of running roughshod on SmackDown. That's what worked for SmackDown with the Bloodline. I think he can kind of do that if you have the right babyface. And it's probably Sammy's got to be the one to ultimately dethrone him, or it's Roman. It's one of those two that have to be the one that end it. But Sammy needs a world title reign at some point.
We've also got a great comment here from DCX Warlord, though. Release the documentary about Sammy's conspiracies. Yes, release the doc, WWE. What are we doing? You took away Peacock from America, the whole library. Just give us the documentary, the Sammy documentary. That's all we're asking. It's not a big ask. I know it's after Christmas, but just one late gift. Just one late gift. Give us the documentary. But I will also say, guys, we could probably break this down for the rest of the afternoon, but we all got to get going here. Unfortunately, this is the end of the show. Thank you, everybody that tuned in. No doubt about it. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Of course, that's noon Pacific, 3:00 over on the East Coast. That's 2 Central. That's 8:00 in the UK. And of course, 9 a.m. for my good friends in Hawaii. On behalf of me, Anthony, and Davis, and everybody at WR, I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. We will definitely talk to you soon. Whatever.